It is.
Take pictures, class.
So where are you?
It's that big,
What's the other one? I've already got it.
that's where the, yeah.
Right. Like that one about the
I'll give it to Nancy.
And then my way screen.
squish, so just.
I think a lot of
times the salts that you
just turned down.
Oh, look at you guys.
John's still taking pictures of
No,
himself?
he's using it as a mirror.
Interested in the mirror from my colleague.
Oh, yeah.
Just straight out his tie.
Trying to help him straighten out his tie.
Good evening. We'll call the meeting to order. If you'd all please rise and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Please be seated. And will you please call roll?
Deputy Mayor Plaza,
Excused?
Councilmember Baggett, Councilmember Brown,
Here,
Councilmember DeCoursey,
here,
Councilmember Holman,
here.
Councilmember Trout-Manuel,
Here.
Councilmember Wales.
All right. We do have one item that is not on the agenda this evening. It's a proclamation. And so I will head over to the podium. And this is for DECA Week, Auburn Mountain View High School DECA Week. I believe we have Chantel Harms and Ella Murta. Right? Come on over here. We don't make you stand there by yourself in the center of the room. All right, so we have a proclamation. And then afterwards, if you have any words that you would like to share, you're more than welcome to do that. Okay? Whereas the Auburn Mountain View High School DECA chapter, an affiliate of the National Marketing Education Program, is a national student organization dedicated to the training, education, and improvement of young people. And whereas the Auburn Mountain View High School DECA Club desires to participate in several important civic projects that will provide club members with opportunities to demonstrate leadership skills, personal and group responsibilities, and civic consciousness, as well as contribute to the improvement of their community. And whereas more than 90% of DECA members say their experience empowers them to be an effective leader and taught them how to communicate thoughts and ideas. Nearly 80% of DECA members say DECA helped them recognize the benefit of community service and leadership. Whereas DECA members say their experience prepared them academically for college and career, 88%, influenced their college plans, 68%, influenced their career plans, 75%, and influenced their interest in entrepreneurship and owning a business, 61%. And whereas DECA has been a part of the Auburn School District for over 30 years, it's over 40 years. I was in DECA when I was in high school. And students have been recognized consistently among the best in the country. And now, therefore, I, Nancy Backus, Mayor of the City of Auburn, Washington, do hereby proclaim November 18th through the 24th, 2019 as DECA Week, and encourage all students and citizens in the City of Auburn to join Auburn Mountain View High School DECA chapter in their campaign to inform others about the opportunities of entrepreneurship, dated this 18th day of November 2019. So who gets this? You'll take it. And ladies, if you'd like to say a few words about DECA.
I just want to say thank you for having us. We really appreciate it. I would say our project focuses on career development and entrepreneurship. So with your help, we have this proclamation now to help us go throughout the community and share why entrepreneurship is an important career option and why you should start now at a young age. So thank you.
Great. Thank you. And ladies, if you would like to go forward and accept the appreciation of council, you can just walk around the front here and shake their hands. And thank you for the work that you do as students in our community. All right, we will move on to appointments. This evening we have several board and commission appointments. City Council to confirm the appointments of the following boards and commissions for a new 3-year term to expire December 31st, 2022. First, the Auburn Municipal Airport Advisory Board, Dennis Descoteaux. Human Services Committee, Kelly Lindberg. Tourism Board, Diane Witt and Tanya Hudspeth. Transportation Advisory Board, Riley Patterson, Muckleshoot Indian Tribal position. Is there a motion? Councilmember Brown.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I'd like to make a motion that we appoint Dennis Descoteaux for the Auburn Municipal Airport Advisory Board. Shall we do these one at a time, Mayor?
No, we can make them all as one motion.
And appoint Kelly Lindberg to the Human Services Committee, Diane Witt and Tanya Hudspeth to the Tourism Board, and Riley Patterson to the Transportation Advisory Board.
Thank you. Do we have a second? Councilmember Wales.
I'll second that.
Thank you. Councilmember Brown, any other comments you'd like to make?
Merely that we're very fortunate to have citizens step up and fill these positions, and it benefits our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments from council? Hearing none, all those in favor of the appointments to the boards and commissions as previously read, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, please say no. Passes. Teresa, do we have any agenda modifications this evening?
No, Your Honor, we don't.
Thank you. All right, we will move to public hearings. First public hearing this evening is on ordinance number 6739, City Council to hold a public hearing regarding assuming the rights, powers, functions, and obligations of the Auburn Transportation Benefit District, or TBD. Ingrid, is there a staff presentation?
No staff presentation, but we did discuss this at the October 28th study session, and the Transportation Benefit District has not enacted any of its revenue options so far to date, and staff are recommending the assumption.
Thank you. Council, do you have any questions or comments before I open it up to the public hearing? All right. We will open the public hearing for ordinance number 6739. Is there anyone that would like to speak to that ordinance? Anyone at all? Seeing none, we will close the public hearing for ordinance number 6739 and move on to the next public hearing, the 2020 property tax levy public hearing. City Council to hold a public hearing to receive public comments and suggestions with regard to possible increases in property taxes. Jamie, is there any staff presentation?
There is no staff presentation. This is an ordinance following up to a presentation that staff gave last week on November 12th, just establishing the 2020 property tax for the city of Auburn.
Thank you. Council, do you have any questions or comments? All right, I will open the public hearing for the 2020 property tax levy. Is there anyone that would like to speak? Please come forward, give your name and address for the record.
Yes, my name is Bob Zimmerman. I'm from 33029 46th Place South. Just make a brief comment about taxes in this city. I've raised issues that should be very simply addressed by people that are knowledgeable enough to understand them. Okay, when you put people's lives at risk and their houses at risk, I don't think there's anything that could be any more important than that, so we must be wasting our tax money on an awful lot of staff. I would suggest that you evaluate them or find people from private industry that are capable of that and
Mr.
save
Zimmerman,
money.
this has to be specifically related to the property
Well,
tax.
It is about property tax. You don't need to raise the property tax if you're saving money on issues that are not properly being addressed. You know, I'm the kind of guy that used to support all these kind of taxes, transportation, school board, everything. Not anymore. You won't support safety, I won't support your taxes. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to speak to the 2020 property tax levy? Hearing none, we will close the public hearing, and we will move to audience participation. This is a place on the agenda where the public is invited to speak to the City Council on any issue. Those wishing to speak are reminded to sign in on the form provided, and please keep comments to 3 minutes or less. Is there anyone that would like to speak? Please come forward, give your name and address for the record.
Hello, my name is Jonathan Murguia. I go to Kentwood High School, and I live at 167029 in Auburn Black Diamond. So I would like to ask the council on what they think exactly the new the Initiative 976 will have on the city of Auburn, specifically on maintaining roads and maintaining just public works in general. And yeah.
So, unfortunately, public comment period is not a back and forth dialogue.
Oh, okay.
There are opportunities for you to ask those questions. We'd be most happy to answer them for you, but public comment during a city council meeting is not the best place to do that, because this is simply for us to hear from the public, not for us to share information back. We are more than happy, either I can, council members can, or you can talk to either our finance director or our public works director in regard to what we think those impacts might be as they currently sit with I-976.
Okay.
All right? And thank you for asking the question, though.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to speak? Last time, is there anyone else that would? Okay.
Yes, I'm Bob Zimmerman from 33029 46th Place South. I'd like to speak a little bit about the mitigation thing that we had with the emergency preparedness. And I attended that the other day, I think, week and a half ago. And Jerry Thornton is doing a real good job of trying to identify a lot of issues that need to be addressed. But I believe that if we get cooperation from the rest of the city and expand this mitigation to make everything safe, it would be more in line with what FEMA is trying to accomplish. You know, they're trying to mitigate and build resilience, not try to simply advance or address the issues after the fact. I mean, we're going to be in the middle of 70,000 square miles of destruction when this Cascadia quake hits. And all these block walls you see going up around here, they're just piles of loose blocks. I recently talked to a fellow that came up from Olympia, an engineer, to take a look at the gas tank. And we talked briefly about general risk, and he watched one of those things fail in the 2001 Nisqually quake. So I don't really know what to think about this operation we've got here, but I'm very concerned about it. And if I had young kids, I would not raise them in the city of Auburn. If I had a young family, I would just get out while the getting was good. Thank you.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak? All right, hearing none, we will move forward. Council Ad Hoc Committee reports. Council Ad Hoc Committee chairs may report on the status of their ad hoc council committee's progress on assigned tasks and may give their recommendation to the City Council, if any. We currently have the Finance Ad Hoc Committee, and Councilmember Wales is the chair. Councilmember, did you have a report?
Yes, thank you very much, Mayor. And I also want to thank, I've been gone for a couple of weeks, and I want to thank Mr. DeCoursey, Councilmember DeCoursey, for covering for me. And usually what we do, and we did again this time, is he reviews them and sends me an email. I review them. We share any questions that we may have. And at this time, we have no questions. And we are making a recommendation that the vouchers be paid as printed.
Thank you. All right, we will move on to the consent agenda. All matters listed on the consent agenda are considered by the City Council to be routine and will be enacted by one motion in the form listed. Do we have a motion? Councilmember Wales.
I move for the acceptance or approval of the consent agenda.
Thank you. Do we have a second? Councilmember Trout Manuel.
I second that, Mayor.
Thank you. Councilmember Wales.
On the list this week, we have the minutes of the October 14th, 2019 meeting, the minutes of the November 4th, 2019 meeting. We have the claim vouchers and payroll vouchers, which I've spoken to earlier, that both Claude and I have reviewed. And we are setting a public hearing date for a broadband franchise renew. We're also doing a public hearing date for mid-biennial review and modification of the 2019-2020 biennial budget. And finally, to approve a change order for the A Street Southeast Preservation Project.
Thank you. Questions or comments from council? Hearing none, all those in favor of the consent agenda, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, please say no. Passes. All right, we have no unfinished business. We have no new business. We will move on to ordinances. Mr. City Attorney, did you want me to read these or did you want to read them? All right. First is ordinance number 6739, assuming the rights, powers, functions, immunities, and obligations of the Auburn Transportation Benefit District. Do we have a motion? Councilmember Holman.
I move to adopt ordinance 6739.
Thank you. Do we have a second? Councilmember DeCoursey.
I'll second the motion, Your Honor.
Thank you. Councilmember Holman.
We've had a separate transportation benefit district for 9-10 years. And it's been composed of the Auburn City Council. We've enacted no taxing authority, and so it's probably time to just, and the state legislatures change the law so that we can assume as a city council the duties of the transportation benefit district.
Thank you. Questions or comments from council? All those in favor of ordinance number 6739, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, please say no. Passes. Ordinance number 6742, related to infrastructure payback agreements, amending Chapter 3.25 of the Auburn City Code. Do we have a motion? Councilmember DeCoursey.
I move to adopt ordinance 6742.
Thank you. Do we have a second? Councilmember Trout Manuel.
I second that, Mayor.
Thank you. Councilmember DeCoursey.
Thank you, Mayor. As you mentioned, this modifies our Auburn City Code 3.25 to provide a more efficient administration for payback agreements related to developer reimbursement from property owners who benefit from the developer's work being done on those properties. And the payback agreement between the city and the applicant provides the mechanism for the city to collect the reimbursement from the benefited properties as a condition of service and to provide the reimbursement to the applicant.
Thank you. Questions or comments from council? All those in favor of ordinance number 6742, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, please say no. Passes. Ordinance number 6750, establishing the levy for regular property taxes for 2020 for general city operational purposes in the amount of $22,368,188. Do we have a motion? Councilmember Brown.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I'd like to I'd like to move that we adopt ordinance number 6750.
Thank you. Do we have a second? Councilmember Baggett.
I'll second that, Your Honor.
Thank you. Councilmember Brown.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. The ordinance number 6750 establishes the property tax levy for calendar year 2020 with a potential increase of 22,000, excuse me, for the operations of the city operating budget of a total of $22,368,188.
Thank you. Questions, and that is the 1% that we are capped for property tax increases in addition to new construction. All right, are there any questions or comments? All those in favor of ordinance number 6750, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, please say no. Passes. All right, we will move on to resolutions. Resolution number 5466, authorizing an agreement with the Auburn Symphony Orchestra for tourism promotion services. Do we have a motion? Councilmember Holman.
I move to adopt resolution number 5466.
Thank you. Do we have a second? Councilmember Trout Manuel.
I second that, Mayor.
Thank you. Councilmember Holman.
We've supported the Auburn Symphony for years, and every year we give them a small amount of money, a significant amount of money, that they use for marketing and outreach. And this year, the amount is $75,000, be used to bring students in the Auburn School District to hear symphonic music, as well as promote the Auburn Symphony. Lovely symphony, and it is part of our economic development strategies in that as we want to attract businesses and their employees to the city, we need a varied amount of entertainment in the city, and this certainly fills the bill for that.
Thank you. Questions or comments? All those in favor of resolution number 5466, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, please say no. Passes. Resolution number 5471, authorizing an agreement with the Washington State Department of Commerce to accept and expend grant funds for a housing action plan. Do we have a motion? Councilmember DeCoursey.
I move to adopt resolution 5471.
Thank you. Do we have a second? Councilmember Baggett.
I'll second that, Your Honor.
Councilmember DeCoursey.
Thank you, Mayor. As always, this is a very important piece of action taken by the state legislature to put additional funds into the development of housing. Each one of us that deals with this in our various committees have encouraged the legislature to continuously provide more dollars into the funding program for additional affordable housing. And this particular legislation will assist the city of Auburn as well as neighboring cities in their efforts to do that job.
Thank you. Questions or comments? All those in favor of resolution number 5471, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, please say no. Passes. All right, we have moved to the portion of the agenda for mayor and council member reports. At this time, the mayor and city council may report on significant items associated with their appointed positions on federal, state, regional, and local organizations. We will begin with Councilmember Holman.
No report.
Councilmember Brown.
No report.
Councilmember Trout Manuel.
I have a little report. On November 5th, the mayor and council member Pelosa and I, we attended the Veterans Luncheon at the Senior Center, which was very well attended. In fact, it was so packed that the staff mentioned that they are going to have to look for another place to hold this. And it was really nice to see all the veterans and to hear all the years that these veterans have been in service. You would be amazed how many years all put together it would come up to. Then on November 9th, we had our annual Veterans Parade, which it seems like every year it's raining, and then by the time we start the route, it dries up. And it's always amazing to see how many people come out and support our Veterans Parade. And I, this year, took my 2 grandchildren, and they loved every minute of it, and they're still talking about the parade. So it's something that I really like to see Auburn continue to do. November 13th, the mayor and I and Councilmember Baggett, we attended the Blue Ribbon doing the Teen Readiness Program, which Dr. Anderson has put together for our city, and we have received several awards for the Ready program as well, the Teen Readiness. This is a tool that they have made a video to help the middle schools and high schools to be able to know how to prepare themselves and keep themselves safe in case there's a person or a student is having a mental breakdown or mental issues and stuff. The mayor and Mr. Anderson did such a good job doing the Ready program, the teen program, to the audience that were there. On November 14th, I and Mr. DeCourcy attended the AWC networking dinner meeting in Kent? In Kent. And this year, they had it at a place that when I drove up, I was kind of scared and leery to get off my car because it was in this big building and there's these big race boats outside, and I thought I was at the wrong place. But when we went in there, they have all the speed boats for the Columbia races, and the history that they had to share with us there was really nice. It was well attended with a lot of the council members and mayors that were there. They talked about what's going to be taking place in the legislative this year. It's going to be a short session, and what we're going to be looking forward. They're also looking for council members to fill positions because with the election year, a lot of people did not make their re-election. So that was another nice event that we attended, attention and everything. So that's my weekly report.
Thank you. Councilmember Wales.
No report, thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember DeCourcy.
Well, I was going to have a fairly extensive report, but since I had my senior moment and left my notes upstairs, I'll be very brief. So, on the 15th, last Friday, I attended the Affordable Housing Committee meeting along with our senior planner, Anthony Avery. And the AHC, we are finalizing our recommendations to go forward with a process of informing the local cities of the impact that we're going to have on affordable housing, and the statements that will be made by the Affordable Housing Committee are going to be acting as a guide for local jurisdictions to look at their programs and what they can do. Very interesting, what we found out was that between the years 2012 and 2019, the region has lost a total of 83,000 affordable housing units. The major growth that we've seen during that period of time is in the 80 to 100% of area median income, which means that the workforce type housing, which is 50 to 80% of area median income, basically has been rented out to folks who have a much higher income and can afford to pay much more rent. So those that are in the median income range have had to find other places to live. But it's a huge impact, losing 83,000 units. The goal regionally over the next 5 years is to produce an additional 44,000 units, which would include new construction as well as preservation. So basically about half of what we need for the loss may be filled within the next 5 years, but that's yet to come. The other piece is kind of consensus with all the members around the table to once again encourage the state legislature to become much more active financially in the affordable housing arena in the state of Washington. 1406 was a good start for the legislature to pass that bill, but I mentioned in the meeting that that's actually pennies when we need dollars. So it's going to be one of those processes we have to go through once again with our elected officials in Olympia to get them on board and have them understand the need is greater than ever. And as we continue to grow regionally, we need to make sure that we are providing the housing that is needed for the area at all income levels, but especially those between the 0% median income and 50% median income, because that's where the greatest need is going to be. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Baggett.
Thank you, Your Honor. I have a couple of items. On November 13th, I attended the Emergency Management Advisory Committee, and we discussed a couple of things, but the most important was just mostly a reminder. Many of us remember when they did the Cascadia Rising drill that was statewide to kind of give us as a state an awareness of things that maybe we need to do better in order to prevent any loss of life and to preserve the infrastructure that we have established in all of our cities. They're getting ready to do another one here. Now it's 2022. It's going to be Cascadia Rising 2022. Seems like a far way off, but they're beginning to plan for this right now. So probably in the next few months or next year, I will probably report on the progress that they're making towards that exercise. It'll be a big one, and it will involve the entire state. So all the cities and their emergency managers are preparing for this and submitting items of consideration to the advisory committee, which is an advisory committee to the King County Council and the executive. So look forward to some more conversation on this as we proceed through that. The other thing was that the EMAC people have actually released a U.S. Secret Service a document here that talks about the school violence and the fact that that reviewed a study of 41 targeted school violence incidences from 2008 to 2017. I would like to read just a few little things here having to do with this publication from the Secret Service, where they identified common themes, motives, behaviors, and situational factors of the attackers. It also looked at operationally relevant details. What they found suggests these incidents could have been avoided, and the research supports the need for schools to establish comprehensive, targeted violence prevention programs. There were 10 key findings, but I would like to go over about 4 of them that were the most significant. All attackers experience social stressors involving peers or a romantic partner. All showed concerning behavior. Most communicated a threat prior to attack, but in many cases the observer did not act or report the concerning behavior. Most had a history of school disciplinary actions, were victims of bullying, and or had negative home life factors. Most had observable mental health, behavioral, or developmental symptoms. It is important to note that none of these traits, either observed individually or several together, are firm indicators of someone planning an attack. There is no profile of a student attacker. School administration and local law enforcement that have not yet created a program for preventing targeted violence should seriously consider doing so. Thank you.
Thank you. And I will not comment on the activities that Councilmember Trout Manuel had expressed that many of us were at, except for the Veterans Day events. I want to say a huge thank you to Julie Kruger and Christy Pichars, especially from the Parks Department, but everyone in Parks, Maintenance and Operations, Auburn Police Department, and others within our city team who worked that day to ensure that we had a wonderful parade that was respectful of our veterans and worthy of the dignity and the service that they have provided to our community. And also a thank you to Councilmember Baggett, who is the current Auburn Noon Lions, do you still call him King Lion? And President, King Lion and President, who the Auburn Noon Lions sponsor the Veterans Awards Luncheon immediately following the parade. This year we had 196 entries, and thanks to whomever in the city decided that the weather was going to clear at the start of the parade. I know Theron Zahn, who was one of the announcers for the parade, who is also on Como, took credit for that as well. But we always know that it's Daryl and team within the city that really make sure that that occurs. On Wednesday night, as Councilmember Trout Manuel said, we were at the Auburn Performing Arts Center to present the Ready Real Emergency Aid Depends on You and the Teen Ready program to parents and other community members within the Auburn School District. It is critically important that everyone knows what to do in case of a behavioral health crisis. As Councilmember Baggett was just relaying some of the concerns and the behaviors of those who are perpetrating violence, it's critical that we know how to keep ourselves and that person who is in crisis safe. And I was proud to be there with Dr. Anderson, who helped develop that curriculum. It is a 1-hour course because we could not find anything other than an 8-hour course that would provide information. And as with CPR, a 1-hour course can save a life. The goal is that the READY program can help save lives and keep people safe. We are very proud of that program, and the teens who were involved in the Teen Ready program did an outstanding job. It's very relatable to students, and I think has a broad impact, a positive impact. On Thursday, the 14th, I was selected to be part of the Puget Sound Regional Council's Project Selection Task Force. That is to determine what criteria will be used for the upcoming grants for transportation projects within the 4-county region. And so it is not as easy as it may sound to determine what that criteria is and what the carve-outs are for small communities, for rural communities, and town centers and such. So I appreciate the opportunity to be on that to ensure that Auburn's needs are being addressed in this consideration. That does not mean that we are going to make those decisions on who receives the grants. We are creating the criteria for how those grants will be assessed and dispersed. Also, Thursday night after that, I attended, Deputy Mayor Pelosi should be here, the Raya 9 Water Ecosystem Forum. And yes, it was as exciting as y'all think it was. Deputy Mayor Pelosi has done a phenomenal job over the course of his tenure on this council representing Auburn at Raya 9. And I was there to read a proclamation in thanks and honor of Deputy Mayor Pelosi, who has served as the co-chair of that forum for at least 10 years and has been, I believe, the vice chair of the management committee. And so he has done stellar work to ensure that Auburn, once again, the needs of the ecosystem here in the Auburn area are being addressed. I also want to thank Councilmember Holman for attending the Sound Cities Association PIC, or Public Issues Committee, meeting on Wednesday night while I was presenting the READY program. A great deal of the conversation that night was surrounding what you've heard me talk about on numerous occasions, the regional governance model for homelessness. And we are, I would think, getting a little bit closer. As you know, Seattle and King County Mayor Durkin and Executive Constantine transmitted to the respective councils their proposal for this regional governance model. And since that time, it has been dissected, it has been beat up, it has been addressed in numerous ways. Sound Cities Association has been an integral part of all of those conversations. And at the meeting on Wednesday night, I believe the PIC members from all 38 of the cities in King County that are not Seattle voted on the basic premises or what would you call them, Councilmember Holman?
The amendments
The amend.
that they're offering.
Well, but I also thought that we put forward what our beliefs are and what we believe needs to be addressed in any proposal.
On equity of voice is
Right.
probably the largest, and King County has offered an amendment to address that. We also got word back from Mayor Durkin of Seattle about her willingness to and desire to work regionally.
Yes, and that is a critical component, and for those who are hesitant of a regional governance model and leery of what will happen, I would challenge you to tell us all what you think is working well in the current model. That does not mean that we are close to coming to that agreement, but there are still conversations taking place, and we do appreciate that both Seattle and King County are willing to have Sound Cities Association as part of that conversation on an ongoing basis.
A bit of an offering, it's equal representation.
That's correct.
3 votes with King County, 3 votes with the City of Seattle, and 3 votes for the Sound Cities Association.
Right.
So we're represented equally on there, and there was a modification that at least one person from each of those 3 entities be in favor of. So you just can't have the 2 big groups pushing the little ones aside. You have to have some consensus from all 3 groups to get it to pass.
Yes, thank you. And those are amendments that have been provided by Sound Cities Association. Those were not part of the original proposal, but they are being taken into consideration for what the respective councils will be voting on going forward. So a lot of work being done on that right now. It is a very important topic, and we need to get this right. Also today, just prior to the council meeting, we had a steering committee meeting or a leadership committee meeting of the Mayor's Jobs Task Force, talking about what has been created with the help of our economic development team and an outside consultant to create as part of our buy local program. It's on the same platform, but to allow for businesses who have a business license within the city of Auburn to input what skills, what jobs they are looking to fill or what the necessary requirements are for those. And the Auburn School District, as well as Green River College, will also be able to input information about the classes they have and the qualifications and the competencies that are being created in those classes, so that there can be a nice opportunity for businesses to hire qualified, capable students out of either college or out of high school. And the survey that was done by our economic development team, you will, I'm no doubt, not be surprised that some of the most important skills that our employers are looking for are basic things like showing up on time, showing up every day, the soft skills, knowing how to communicate, yes, as well as other specialties for each one of those to be considered a skilled employee. So we're very excited to bring that forward to the next task force meeting with our educators and our business owners, so that we can start moving this forward as an incredible benefit to our community, because we know if we can provide those jobs within the community, then we have an opportunity for those family wage jobs to stay here and for our residents to not have to move out of the area in order to have those good family wage jobs. Mr. City Attorney, do we have need for an executive or a closed session? That is such great news. We are adjourned. Thank you.